At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like your boat when you're at sea and you get away from everything. Your home and the security of your daughter's things. And the car that you've had for too long, but after all these years, you just can't let go. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
St. Kitts and Nevis has been placed on the European Union's blacklist of tax havens. The Federation is one of 3 Caribbean territories on the blacklist, including the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Bahamas. In responding to the EU blacklisting, Financial Secretary Hilary Hazel in an official statement said St. Kitts and Nevis was blacklisted because it is considered to have a preferential tax regime.
The only area of concern for the EU is in respect of fair taxation, where a jurisdiction should have no preferential tax measures that could be regarded as harmful, and B, a jurisdiction should not facilitate offshore structures or arrangements aimed at attracting profits which do not reflect real economic activity in the jurisdiction. St. Kitts and Nevis was cited for what the EU considers a preferential tax regime, which refers mainly to the existing tax regime with respect to the provisions for offshore companies in the Federation.
Mistress Hazel said the Federation has been committed to cooperation and transparency regarding international tax compliance.
During the process of engaging with the EU, concrete commitments were made by the Federation to amend the relevant legislation to address the EU's concerns. The Federation remains optimistic that these commitments would persuade the EU partners to remove the Federation from the list of non-cooperative jurisdictions for tax purposes and allow for a framework of cooperation and dialogue moving forward. St. Kitts and Nevis does not consider itself to be non-cooperative. On the contrary, the Federation remains committed to the international standards on transparency and exchange of information for tax purposes.
Mistress Hazel also stressed that legislation was passed by the National Assembly to provide for the implementation of the Common Reporting Standards.
Legislation was passed by the National Assembly in December 2016 to provide for the implementation of the Common Reporting Standards. The Federation also joined membership of the BEPS Inclusive Framework in November 2017 and is among 112 other jurisdictions that have committed to implementing the anti-BEPS measures.
The Financial Secretary pointed out that St. Kitts and Nevis is fully cooperative and committed to the EU's tax concerns and will continue to undertake a comprehensive review of its legislation in accordance with the best practices in taxation matters. She said some EU countries have already previously removed St. Kitts and Nevis from their tax blacklist. The document prepared by the EU officials and dated March 8 regarding the blacklisting also adds Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands, Dominica, and Anguilla and Barbuda to a so-called grey list of jurisdictions which do not respect EU anti-tax avoidance standards but have committed to change their practices. The grey list includes dozens of jurisdictions from all over the world. I am Chantel Rochester for SKN Newsline.